I never witnessed anything. I don't know if speculation is lying.
What did Nathan tell you about the relationship?
Objection. Hearsay.
Nathan has testified. It's not hearsay.
At some point, they were dating.
You remember telling me that Mr. Wade and Miss Willis would rendezvous at that office.
What does that mean?
Can't recall what the conversation was. I do recall knowing that he would go down to the office or had been down to the office, but I can't tell you in what capacity or when or any
It's a
of that.
rendezvous, dude. They were rendezvousing all
They had
day.
sex at that office, though, correct?
I don't recall him stating that, no.
You don't recall.
No.
You were speculating based on things that had been told to you or things you had observed?
So I'm going to object as to the nature of this line of questioning. The witness has made it clear he was speculating as to how or what he knew. And if it's speculation, it's inadmissible for this court.
All right, but the motivations for his reason for speculating would be admissible, so I'll overrule that.
Thank you, Judge. Was this speculation, when you told me that, was that based on things that had been told to you and things that you had witnessed?
I never witnessed anything. So,
Wild.
you
This
know,
guy has
it
no knowledge
was
of anything. Nothing.
speculation. I can't tell you
Totally
anything
lacking in
specific,
credibility.
if that's what you're asking.
Guys just
Anything specific as to why you speculated about that?
No, this was however many years ago. I mean, I don't recall, but no, I don't.
Did you have any reason why?
I don't know if speculation is lying, but
Show me where in this text it says you're speculating. Or
you didn't ask me if I was speculating or guessing.
I didn't ask you, but tell me if it says anywhere here.
No, if this is the same one that you just showed me, it does not.
And you're welcome if you need to look at your text. Is there anywhere in here that indicates that you didn't have knowledge of the
No.
relationship?
Your Honor, I'm going to object. The line of questioning Your Honor directed counsel to explore is where he got the knowledge. She's explored that. He said it's speculation and he didn't get it from any source other than his own speculation.
Sure.
So
I think we're fleshing that out, and I think it's her right to have a little leeway on this if he's
He just
an
made
adverse
it up.
witness.
I don't know where it came from.
These speaking objections are clearly coaching the witness because he's regurgitating.
Your Honor, I
What?
object and take offense to that comment. I'm
Ah,
objecting
cry
based
harder,
on the
Adam.
law, and I'm making a record for the court. So I take offense
Ask
to
for
that comment.
sanctions
It's
again.
not the case.
All right, well, I think we can
Whiner.
start with objection, the grounds, and the rule number, and then if I need more, I'll ask.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Adam.
All right.
Keep
Thank
it
you.
simple.
What did Nathan tell you about the relationship?
Objection. Hearsay.
Nathan has testified. It's
Yeah.
not hearsay.
It's still hearsay. It's an out-of-court statement being brought in for the truth of the matter asserted. So hearsay.
Judge,
All right. Yeah, this would be for impeachment by contradiction, which would
Thank
be an
you.
exception to the hearsay rule, and admissible as substantive evidence, and the privilege issues are overruled.
thank you, Judge.
Judge just educated the government. See how that's happening here? The judge is not happy about this.
Well, I think you just overruled the privilege objection, but we don't know when he's talking about. So we've already established the December
Right.
2018 date privilege.
Sure. And that's something I covered in the in-camera hearing, and I'm, based on what he told me in that in-camera hearing, I don't believe any statements to this effect were covered by privilege.
Yeah, sit down,
And Judge,
guys.
I just want for the record, because sometimes the record doesn't reflect where people are looking, and that when I ask a question, Mr. Bradley is looking at Mr. Wade and his lawyer to wait for them to object, and they're clearly interacting somehow in the court. So I
Wow.
just want the record to reflect that because
Thank
it
you,
wouldn't
Ashleigh.
otherwise.
It's there now. Question was put to you, Mr. Bradley.
Judge, one of my lawyers is sitting right in the back.
We don't
That's
have to go down
behind.
that rabbit hole. You can look wherever you want.
Yeah, and I'd never looked at Mr. Wade or
Wade
his attorneys.
stood up too.
That sounds true.
All right. Mr. Bradley, question was put to you.
What did Nathan Wade tell you about the relationship?
I recall him stating
Here we go.
that at some point they were dating. I can't tell you what date that was.
Oof,
It was
of course
made
you
in
can't.
confidence. We were in the back of our office. Our offices were the only two in the back. There was no one else present.
Great. Let's dig
That
into
is
that.
all I can tell you at this time.
Great. So you were in your office.
One time?
One time.
You only had a conversation with him one time about the relationship?
Asked and
Objection.
answered.
Asked and answered.
Sit
No, I
down.
think that's a clarify for their own sifting cross. Miss Merchant.
Sit down.
I do not recall any other time that he mentioned that they were in a relationship. No.
Huh. What year was that? Terrence? Was it before 2022? They said it started 2022.
Okay. So you talked about this one time and you said you don't know when it was though, correct?
That is correct.
Was it before Mr. Wade, before you got the contract in Fulton County? Let's start with that.
I do not recall.
Oh,
And,
come on.
how did it come up?
Say again.
How did it come up?
I do not recall how it came up. It was in the back. I know where it occurred in our offices in the back. I can't tell you what we were discussing prior to that.
We got some good questions.
Did you receive an email from me on January 6th with a motion attached?
I think I did, yes.
Yes, you did.
I know I
Yes,
received
you
a,
know you
I don't know
did.
if the date is January
Yes.
6th, but yes, I received that.
Yes, you did.
So you remember receiving that?
Yes.
With the date. And you reviewed it and then you and I spoke about it. Do you recall that?
Dig hard there, Terrence. It's in there. lawyer. Come on.
Do we speak over the phone or are you saying through a text?
That's what I'm asking you.
I can't remember whether it was
Did we talk
text
at
to
all?
phone or
But you recall us speaking, one way or another.
one way or another, yes.
There, good. Easy. That was
And
easy.
Where I was trying to confirm the facts in that filing.
I think I remember there was a line of about the accuracy of how much money that my office, the law office of Terrence A. Bradley, have received and whether or not that was going to be in the motion or not.
So a small subset.
Discrepancy. I had kept that out. You asked me to step back in, correct?
I recall you,
He wanted his law firm getting screwed to be a part of the record.
that may be accurate, yes.
He didn't get paid.
And you thought, because you thought it might be suspicious if you were left out of the motion.
No, I think
Man, what happened to this dude? He was team merchant.
we discussed that it should reflect the accuracy because the accuracy was that I had a contract and received 74,000. And I think you had put in there that Mr. Campbell had received a certain amount. And then you also had put in there that Mr. Wade had received a certain amount. But there was not anything in there originally. And I said that it needed to be accurate. I needed to be accurate as far as that I had received 74,000. That's
Right,
correct.
Because you did not want anyone knowing that you had talked to me.
I'm gonna object this to relevance.
Be biased. Overruled.
Overruled.
I wanted you to be accurate as far as the accuracy of our message or your filing.
Okay, so your interest was in accuracy in the filing.
I didn't reach out to you and say, send me a copy of your motion.
Right.
I didn't reach out to you to say that I'm going to be in your motion
But you read it.
Right.
And you
I
wanted
asked
corrections.
you to review it for accuracy.
for accuracy. And I just stated that it was inaccurate.
And the inaccuracy that you pointed out was the thing about or how much you had made.
That was the inaccuracy that I saw that jumped out
Were
was
there-
the fact that I saw that I
You know
was
where this is
left
going.
out when you
Were there other
had
inaccuracies
put
in there?
the firm the money was. I did not, when I responded to that, it was for that specific reason.
And I agreed I would put that back in, that section back in, and I
Correct.
did. I did put it back in, and I sent it to you again.
What a good lawyer. Nice, Ashleigh. Well done.
Don't recall getting a second email from you, no.
But you were happy that I put it back in, or that I agreed to put it back in.
I'm gonna object this to relevance.
Yeah, we need to get to more material aspects.
Yes, Judge, moving along, I promise. So you did ask me to put that back in.
Again,
Well,
asked and answered
oh, yeah.
relevance.
Well, he didn't answer that last question, so overruled.
You did, can you confirm you did ask me to put that back in for it to be accurate?
Yes, that's correct. I said that.
And did you ask me to
Yes.
take anything out?
And then I asked you if everything was accurate, and you said, looks good.
Busted.
Correct?
I recall you asking that, but the looks good was applying to the
Only-
accuracy of the 74,000. That's it.
Yeah, right.
When you
Gosh.
reviewed the motion and you specifically pointed out that one thing that you found inaccurate, you didn't point anything else out that you
No,
found
you
inaccurate
didn't.
in that motion, though, correct?
No, I did not.
I only read the one sentence.
And that motion alleged that their relationship began when Miss Willis was in municipal court.
If I can reread the motion,
Yeah,
but
read it.
I don't recall. But if that's what it says,
Yeah.
my saying
I only
that it
cared-
looks good was when you put back in the 74,000 into your motion.
Yep.
And that wasn't what I was asking. What I was asking is, you didn't tell me that there was anything else inaccurate in the motion, though, right?
Nope. Just
But I didn't state that anything was accurate other than the 74,000.
Now, when I told you that I had this motion that I was preparing, you asked me to send a rough draft.
No, that's incorrect.
I approached Judge.
You may.
Which page are you showing him?
he
Is
said
there
that
a
with
page
some
number? It's
very big
January
force.
6th.
I just see it.
Yeah, of course. I can show you if you saw the text.
Okay, so Ashleigh sends him a copy of the motion to dismiss. He basically ratifies it. Okay, he goes through, reads it. The only thing is this little sentence. Can you please fix this sentence? Okay, done. How does this look? Looks good. All right, so all of the other substance in there is true. He says it looks good. And she made many of the same allegations that now he has a difficult time remembering. And he is suddenly, man, he's a lawyer, pretty smart guy, practiced law, represented a bunch of clients, got a contract from Fulton County,
So
but can't remember
we had
anything.
been talking and you asked me to send you a rough draft and I told you, okay, but I didn't want it to be leaked before I filed it.
That is correct.
So you're the one that asked me to send a rough draft.
What happened
Yes,
to
that's
this
correct.
dude?
That was at 10:08 on Saturday, January 6th. And then you got an email from me with that rough draft at 10:25 that same day, correct?
Yes.
If you need to look at it, I can.
If it says 1025, then I know you sent me an email.
While he's looking at it, I'm gonna object us to asked and answered. We've been through the fact that she sent him a copy of the motion, whether he specifically said rough draft or not, and then asked about the accuracy. He's explained his answer, and I expect to ask and answer. So
Understood, Mr. Vaughn. We're getting there. Overruled for now.
And then I responded when we were talking about that footnote that we were just talking about. I said, I took it out, but I can add it back. And you said, yes. yes, add it back. You remember that?
I answered that yes.
And then I said, anything else? Anything that's accurate? And you responded, looks good. You recall that?
Let me see the.
Here it is, Terrence.
And
You
there,
just,
I don't know where the exhibits are.
just looked at
Or
it.
admitted.
It makes him look so bad. I mean, he can't remember all this stuff. It's like right in front of his face. He's just being squirrely on the bench.
It says looks good, but I stated before I was responding to
Only my
you putting me back
sentence.
into the motion for receiving $74,000 in a contract.
This says, you said, yes, add it back. And then I said, anything else? Anything that isn't accurate? And you responded, looks good. So you weren't responding to put it back in.
Your Honor, I'm going to object.
I
It's
know.
not his motion. He wasn't the affiant of the motion or verified the
Overruled, Mr. Body.
Talking about his personal knowledge.
I've said
no personal knowledge.
twice.
Overruled, Mr. Body.
I've said twice
Pipe down,
that the
Adam.
looks accurate was, or I've said more than twice, was for the 74,000.
Okay, I think the judge knows this dude's lying. And
Do you remember telling me about Nathan and Fani coming to your office and spending time together at your office?
No, I mentioned, I do recall testifying on the 16th that she had come to our office.
And that was before she was elected as district attorney, correct?
wow,
I recall that that was
Would've been-
when she was district attorney,
18 or 19.
because I said that there was a meeting held at my office.
And who was at that meeting?
Now, I can't tell you that. I don't recall.
But you know, Miss Willis was there, Mr. Wade was there.
It was at our office. Actually, Miss Willis was there and there were other people there. Mr. Wade was not in that meeting. He was in the back. I wasn't even in that meeting.
So
Why did she hold it at your office then?
I have no idea.
as the DA, is that on her calendar?
You also remember telling me about them spending time together at her law office before she took her job.
Yes.
I don't recall.
Before
Do you?
She was big fan.
I don't recall. Do you have something to?
So Miss Willis rented a law office from the Evans firm, or Andrew Evans and another lawyer, I think Stacy Evans. You have knowledge of that, correct?
I'm going to object to hearsay.
Well,
How does he know the information? That would be the correct question.
okay, Miss Merchant.
I don't really know even how to respond to that hearsay. I'm asking if he knew that she rented
Yeah, he may have
offices.
been there. He may
Right.
have seen a business card or something at some point. I think you can answer that.
I've never been to Miss Willis's office when she was in private practice. I've never dealt with where she rented. I didn't even know where her office was. So
Do you remember, though, knowing that she rented an office
yes,
from the Evans?
yes,
You did know
that is correct. Yes.
Okay. And do you remember telling me that Mr. Wade and Miss Willis would rendezvous at that office?
Yeah. What does that mean?
I'm going to object
Rendezvous.
to, again, hearsay as to how he knows that information. He said he has no personal knowledge. And
He did
just-
not say he has no personal knowledge, Judge. He hasn't even answered it.
No, he said in general, he had no personal knowledge. So it's not been established the source of how he would know this because he said he's never been to her office.
All right, Ms. Merchant, if I know you're trying to impeach him by a prior inconsistent statement, but unless you can first back up and show why each statement is actually something that he had knowledge of, I don't know if this is going to be relevant.
And Judge, I'm not even there yet. But again, that a speaking objection. And so now I anticipate what our response is going to be next. I didn't ask anything that was objectionable, but these objections are coaching the witness. I asked if he had knowledge. That's it. I didn't ask, did someone say this to you? I didn't ask, what did this person tell you? I asked if he knew.
Well, no, you're asking if he had knowledge, and then you say of something specific. So,
Once I get an answer to that, if he has knowledge, then I will follow up with where that knowledge came
all
from.
right, well, let's try again.
So my question is, do you have knowledge of them meeting at that office?
Objection, foundation.
Okay, overruled.
Do you have knowledge of them meeting at that office?
I have no personal knowledge if that's what you're asking.
I didn't ask that yet. I asked if you have any knowledge.
Objection, that would
Overruled.
Not if it came from
We
Mr.
don't
Wade,
know where it
Judge.
came from. So, how do you know, Mr. Bradley?
How do you know?
Any knowledge that I would have received would have come from my client at the time.
So you had knowledge of this place that Miss Willis worked. What did you know about them meeting at that office?
hearsay.
It's not hearsay,
Overruled.
Judge.
Yeah, this is a good
How
question.
he knows it, and then you ask the next question.
He's already asked the next question.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. How do you have knowledge? So tell us what Mr. Wade told you about Miss Willis and Mr. Wade meeting at the Evans office.
Not her DA office.
Objection, Your Honor, privilege. This clearly covers the time after December 2018 that would be covered by. the
Yeah,
privilege.
get out of here.
Yeah, overruled.
Yeah, get out of here. Already decided. So Nathan and Fani were cavorting and rendezvousing at her
Do you
office.
recall the question, Mr. Bradley?
I do not.
Before she
You
got
asked the
elected.
question, Ms. Merchant.
What did you learn from Mr. Wade? Because we've clarified that's where you learned it from.
Busted.
About Mr. Wade and Miss Willis meeting at the Evans office together.
Before she got elected. For 2022 for sure. Come on. Nathan, we know
I'm
what
gonna
Nathan
object to
told
asked
you.
and answered. He's testified that
He hasn't answered.
Sit
I
down.
we haven't heard an answer.
He
Sit
testified he had one conversation
down.
with Mr. Wade in the back of his law
Judge.
office.
Yeah, and this answer may change. So
Tip him
overruled.
off as to how to answer the question.
He's waiting
I
for
can't
his lawyers.
recall what the conversation was. I do recall knowing that he would go down to the office or had been down to the office, but I can't tell you in what capacity or when or any
To
of that.
rendezvous, dude. They were rendezvousing all
They have
day.
sex at that office, though, correct?
I don't recall him stating that, no.
You don't recall it.
No,
So it's possible he did say that. You just don't remember one way or another?
I do not remember him saying that.
Do you recall that he had a garage door opener to either a house or a condo or something like that of Miss Willis?
Whoa.
I've never seen a garage door opener. I've never been to Miss Willis's house. I've never been. So no, I do not have any personal knowledge of him having a garage door opener. Yes, ma'am.
I didn't ask if you had personal knowledge, like as in you saw it. Do you have any knowledge at all from Mr. Wade or any source that he had a garage door opener to access one of Miss Willis's residence?
And I'll object to any source as to hearsay.
All right, depends on the source. Overruled.
No, I don't have any knowledge.
So when you told me that, did you just make it up?
Whoa.
Do you have something that shows that I told you that?
Yes. Well, if we're going to go through all the texts we can.
This guy,
But
man.
so was that made up though?
But I'm going to object because I
I don't recall him having.
Mr. Bradley, just a
I'm going to
second.
object under 106 as the rule of completeness. I don't have that text message or any text messages that indicate that, Your Honor.
And I don't have, if it was a text, we had that conversation. I actually think it was when he was on speakerphone and Mr. Merchant was there, but I'm not sure. But if I'm asked to qualify exactly where that's from, I would.
Okay, so rule of completeness would be if you need to introduce other text to show the context. If you're saying you haven't seen a copy yet, then I think Ms. Merchant needs to do that before you can
And I don't
decide your
have-
next step.
And that's what I was asking him. If that was something he just remembers making up. If he doesn't, then that's fine. But
She referenced text messages and started to go into her packet of papers.
Sure.
That have text
So you don't have a text message to that.
I would need some time to look through, and I don't remember if I have a text to that or if it was during a conversation. It was one of those.
All right, he has now said that he has no knowledge, so on to your next question.
Okay. Did Mr. Wade tell you about the trips that he and Miss Willis took?
No,
You have any knowledge of the trips that he and Miss Willis took?
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled.
Gosh, keep trying it, guys.
I do now.
But you did not before this proceeding?
I did not know until you text that you found that in the deposition of his divorce. I mean, not deposition, but something from his divorce.
Okay. And when you responded, doesn't surprise me, they took many trips to Florida, Texas, California. Those are your words though, right?
I'm going to object as to relevance. He said he did not know and he actually learned from Miss Merchant the information.
He said he learned about certain trips from Miss Merchant.
Okay, you can tie it down, but
Thank you.
we'll
He
see.
had no
This guy,
information
man,
on any
is-
trip that Miss Willis and Mr. Wade took, that he learned it all from Miss Merchant. That was his testimony.
Sure.
Judge, I'm
Maybe the
allowed.
conclusion we reach. I think she can ask more than one question, though. All right, Ms. Merchant.
And if Judge, just so, if he said more than one version, that's all relevant. We're allowed to talk about the different versions that he's told.
All right, I've overruled the
Thank
objection,
you.
Ms. Merchant.
Do you remember telling me that it didn't surprise you that they took the trips that I found in the divorce file because they took many trips to Florida, Texas, California? And then you told me that they took the trip to California when she moved her daughter there because she failed out of FAMU. Do you remember that?
Whoa.
I don't recall that, but if I don't recall.
Okay, Judge, may I approach?
He can't remember anything, man.
You may.
Wow.
It's in one of the ones I gave you.
Something happened to this guy, man. He was very team Merchant. He was telling them everything, right? He totally agreed, even reviewed the motion. And now something flipped. He's sitting there looking at Nathan Wade in the courtroom and is suddenly brain dead, mostly. Can't remember anything. He's a lawyer, bar exam, law school, representing clients. Fani thought he was so smart, gave him a contract. Now he can't remember
Look at that. Let me know if
anything.
it refreshes your memory.
Here's another text message that you sent to us.
Just first, let me know if that refreshes your memory.
Yes.
So it's true that you told me they took many trips to Florida, correct?
Per that, yes, but one of the messages is cut off and
Oh, my
you asked
gosh.
about some other trips and I said, no, I didn't, I think. And that was specific to, at the top of that, it says, no, I didn't. And so that was to the trips that you asked me about. And I think before that, when you mentioned that you found all these trips, I think I said, oh, wow. And
You did not know about all the trips that were taken and you qualified it. You said, no, I didn't. When did it happen? And then the next text, which I can get, or you can look at your phone or whatever refreshes your memory, you said was after you left, after the firm was dissolved,
I'm
correct?
going to object to relevance.
Overruled.
It was after the firm, the trips that you said, no, you didn't know about. You told me those were after your firm had dissolved.
So he
correct?
left.
I think you mentioned that they were after I left, maybe, or
'Cause you
whenever
already
you
left.
found them. And I said, no, I didn't know about those trips. So
Okay.
So you believe I mentioned that it was after you left?
quite sure you have the text message and I will refresh my memory memory.
Is it easier for you to refresh your memory with your own phone or with my printouts of screenshots?
Well, you have the printout, so I'll go.
Judge, the reason I'm asking is because I'm getting objections that I've cut things off, and it's just the nature of how you have to print out screenshots. So in order to avoid that, I'm happy for him to refresh his memory with his own phone, if that would be,
Well, he
Well, I
probably
don't know if
deleted
he's
the
accepting your
messages.
offer or not, so you're going
would
to
that be
proceed.
easier for you?
You can just provide the documents.
Yeah,
Okay.
he deleted the messages, probably. That's why. Well, I don't have any of them. I thought it deleted them on both ends. Nope, doesn't work that way. So she's trying to get, pin down some dates and get a timeline on this. So, the firm dissolved at a certain period of time. And so if the firm dissolved and after that dissolution, you no longer have access to your bro talk or to your pro talk with Nathan Wade, then you wouldn't know about all of the other vacations that they're taking
I have
after the
some water,
fact.
Judge, please.
Yeah, let me see what we can do.
Yeah, he's a little bit parched. Not remembering things is a very difficult work. You're like, well, I'm working up a sweat here. I don't recall. I
Sorry,
don't
Judge, I'm just trying
recall.
to pull out all of the messages that you may need.
All right. I don't really see some point we're reaching the cumulative point where we don't need to go through an entire
Yeah.
6-month text chain. You're making the point that he'd made some comments to you along the way that led you to believe he had more knowledge than today he's testifying that he had. And so if you've hit the high points of that, then I don't know what else we can cover that actually moves the needle.
Okay, I'll just move on to the actual trips then. So you told me that they took many trips to Florida. That refreshed your memory. Told me that. Was that based on your knowledge from Mr. Wade?
That would have been based on anything that my client would have told me. I didn't have personal knowledge of whether they went or not.
The trips to Texas. You're the one who played Texas. Was that based on your knowledge from Mr. Wade?
It would have been something that came from the client. I cannot tell you
Great, so it
that I have
happened.
any personal knowledge of any trip other than what would have been said by the client.
Good.
You went on these trips. I'm asking if you have knowledge from Mr. Wade. You also typed California. Was that something that you gained from knowledge from Mr. Wade?
It would have been from the client at this particular point. Yes, it would have been from the client.
And when
Yeah.
you told me that the trip to California was to move her daughter out there, would that have been something you gained from Mr. Wade?
Thank you, Judge. Any knowledge that I have of any trip would have come from my client at the time.
All right, we got to pin it down on when the trips were now. Okay, why was Nathan at her office early before she was elected? Why were they traveling around
You told us
presumably
last
before
week
elected?
that Mr. Wade used your credit card one time. Do you know when that was?
I do not.
Relevance to why we're here today.
Well, I think this would be impeachment of Mr. Wade's testimony if Mr. Wade testified that he had never used anyone else's credit
That's
card
right, he
before.
did
Object to
testify.
ask him if he did because it was covered during the last hearing. He acknowledged that Mr. Wade used his credit card.
Judge,
So-
I asked when.
Yes,
I did.
when? Okay.
I didn't ask, did he? I asked, when did
Yeah,
he?
quiet down, Adam.
Let's go there.
I do not have any dates of when Mr. Wade used my credit card. I testified that we used the card for business and that throughout the business, we would order paper or supplies or filing of depositions. I mean, the cost factor of cases
Copy paper.
is what I said.
Law firms use a lot of
and
it.
that still applies today. Did he use my credit card? He did. But I can't tell you who he used that card, what the trip was for.
It was a
I
trip.
can't even tell you at this time where he went.
He used it for a trip.
Busted.
Yeah, it was for a trip, but I can't tell you where, when,
Busted.
why, or anything to that nature. Correct.
And he paid you back in cash.
I never testified that he paid me back in cash. I said that he would either pay me back, I said I couldn't remember. I do not recall. Sometimes he would write checks. Sometimes he would pay cash. And that still applies today, that I do not recall him paying me back cash, but I do recall him paying me back.
This was when you were still, before your partnership split up, correct?
It would have been before I left the firm, yes. He wouldn't have used my card after I left the firm.
So we can at least narrow down the dates to that.
Before I left the firm, yes.
Yes.
Okay,
When
great.
was that? Perfect.
And Mr. Wade gave you details about meeting Miss Willis in Hateville or East Point, as it was called.
That's incorrect.
He did not tell you about that.
He didn't give me details.
He did not tell you about meeting with Miss Willis at an East Point or Hateville apartment.
Come on, man. Terrence, be honest. Come on. He's like, me and Fani.
At this time, I don't recall.
No.
Where did you get that information from then?
He's testified he doesn't recall if he even had that information.
I asked if he got it from Mr. Wade, and he says he doesn't recall. So then I asked where he got it from.
I do not recall where I got the information from.
And you and Mr. Wade were friends as
Ridiculous,
well as
right?
business partners, correct?
We were friends in the sense of I've known him for years. Yes, we were friends.
Were Nathan Wade sitting over
You
there.
definitely do not want to come and be a witness in this case, correct?
I can't believe it.
That is
an
correct.
Objection.
And we talked about this earlier, that Gabe Banks called you and then Nathan Wade called one of your
Gabe.
friends. It was after that that you hired Mr. Chopra to assist you in this matter, correct?
So Gabe called to dissuade him.
Was it after that?
Nathan's friend called him. He got 2 calls. You could have come clean today, Terrence.
So I hired Mr. Chopra and I hired Mr. Graham. Now, Mr. Graham is here. And when I received the subpoena, Mr. Graham was here at the last hearing, but he also had to go out of town, but he was present. Mr. Graham, I called and I had started getting calls from media and I told him to respond to the media. I think think, and that was somewhere around whenever you subpoenaed me. So I can't tell you that it was that instance of those calls for Mr. Chopra, but I had engaged Mr. Chopra and Mr. Graham at that time.
I'm going to ask the question again because I didn't get an answer to
Yeah.
it. After you got the phone call from Gabe Banks and from Nathan Wade to your
I think it was before that, is what I'm stating.
when you got from Gabe Banks, you called me immediately. Well, actually, you texted me and then you called me.
I didn't call you immediately, but yes, we did speak.
Okay.
And you texted me about it as well.
That is correct.
And then we spoke after Mr. Wade called your friend and we talked about that as well, correct?
Wade's sitting right there.
That is correct.
And at that point, you didn't mention anything to me about being represented by Mr. Chopra.
But I didn't mention anything about Mr. Chopra, or that is correct.
That was only my question.
All right, Ms. Merchant, we're going to do
Those are the
5
last
more
two
minutes.
questions. Thank you.
3:05, I'm cutting you off.
Thank you.
All right, so we're still trying to pin down the timeline, right? We got some pretty good admissions out of Terrence Bradley. He confirmed, again, that Nathan Wade used his card. He confirmed it was for a trip. He confirmed that happened while they were still business partners.
That's to refresh your memory and then I want to ask you questions.
He confirmed he got pressure phone calls from Gabe, from Nathan to his friend, that he does not want to testify here. And a big one was that Fani and Wade met at Fani's office. And her office was the office that she had before she was the DA.
Are these supposed to go together?
Rendezvous
Oh, these are 2 separate dates?
Two different dates.
Okay.
at her office if they were not in a relationship. Of course, the relationship, that would have been before she was elected. They said the relationship started in 2022 after she was elected, but all this stuff happened before then. She was at her private office, not the DA's office. Nathan Wade was there. They went on trips and used his credit card when they had their law firm
So
together.
I know we talked about the other.
So when was that?
The text or just about footnote. But do you recall me asking you, do you think it started before she hired him? And you said absolutely. Do you recall that?
I see that in a text message, yes.
And do you also recall me asking you how they would react if they would attack me? And you said, no, they will deny it.
Your Honor, objection as to speculation as to how he thinks they will react.
I think that goes to the motivations of the witness. Overruled.
And you told me that they will deny it.
That's written in there, yes.
I
This
just
is
want
exactly what they're doing.
one last opportunity. You're an officer of the court, correct?
I am.
Yeah, right.
And you're under oath today.
I am.
Is there any of your testimony from today or the previous days that you want to correct?
That I want to correct?
Yes.
No, I've told you everything that I've answered everything that you asked.